dizziness with the vestibular doing exercise in 2015.
Today I would like to talk about dizziness. Dizziness is a common complaint in many clinics, either in the ER, in many clinics, in the either otolaryngology clinics, neurology clinics, family medicine clinics, general medicine clinics. So I will talk about dizziness and how to approach to it. Dizziness, as you know, is not a disease. Dizziness is a complaint. It's a symptom. So for any patient who has dizziness, we have to know how to deal with the patient. We have to know that it's a symptom. We need to reach the diagnosis of the dizziness and then know how to manage it and know what is the exact cause of the dizziness and treat it. The same as headache for any physician. If you have a patient who has headache, the goal for the patient is to know the exact cause of the headache and then treat the underlying cause, and not to give the patient only paracetamol. For dizziness, it's the same. We have to know what is the exact cause of the dizziness and then how to treat it. Dizziness is caused by a large spectrum of causes. It could be caused by simple, non-life-threatening causes like BPV, inner ear causes, BPV, Meniere's disease, and so on. It could be also be caused by very severe life-threatening causes like strokes, brain tumors, and so on. So we need to know how to manage them, to prevent these, and to know how to manage these life-threatening causes. And even the non-serious causes may lead to serious complications. So patients who have even very non-serious causes like BPV may be at the risk of fall, as you see. Most of the patients who have dizziness are elderly, they have osteoporosis, you increase the risk of falls for them, you have high risk for head traumas, any fracture, neck of femur fractures, and so on. These may lead to life-threatening complications and may lead to death, like pulmonary embolism and so on. And patients who have dizziness, if they drive a car, this is one of the life-threatening complications. If they drive a car and they have dizziness, vertigo, they may have RTAs, they may harm themselves or harm others. So we need to prevent all these complications. Now, as you know, I'd like to increase the awareness of the function of the vestibular system. The vestibular system is not, the rule of the vestibular system is not only balance. It's for balance, gaze stabilization during head movements, and it even has higher cortical functions like spatial orientation, which is important for everyone to know his exact position on Earth. Patients who have severe vestibular dysfunction may have loss of spatial orientation, and that may be the first symptom of patients with dementia. Patients with dementia or Alzheimer's disease, they may have bilateral vestibulopathy. Most of them have a high risk or high percentage of bilateral vestibulopathies. Even other higher cortical functions like intelligence, children who have loss of vestibular function may have lower school performance, less mathematical performance, less reading abilities. The vestibular system is related to higher cortical centers. Even it's related with emotions. Patients who have loss of vestibular function may have high risk of anxiety and depression that may lead them to social abnormalities like social isolation. So it may affect all aspects of life. Even it affects sleep. Patients who have vestibular dysfunction may have abnormalities in sleep, and that's due to its association with other higher cortical centers. Oh, yes. I would like to present some of the cases who have presented to the ER. This is one of my patients who came to my clinic after he went to the ER. He's a 60-year-old male who has hypertension, DM, he's a smoker, and he presented to the ER with acute vertigo for 5 days. He did a brain CT scan, which was normal, and then he came to the clinic. Patient number 2, also she's a 71-year-old female. She has hypertension, DM, hyperlipidemia, and she presented to the ER with acute vertigo for 3 hours. Both of them had CT scan, which was normal. For the first patient, as you see, after we examined her, we saw some of the central signs. We did for her a brain MRI. As you see, there's a cerebellar stroke, acute infarction. For the other one, there's a small pontine infarction, even if the CT scan was normal, but you have to be aware about the red flags in our examination, so you can know if it's a central or peripheral cause. This small pontine infarction, you know, it's very small, it's not life-threatening, but there's a study that shows if patients who have small TIAs or small minor strokes, they are at risk within 30 days to develop a large major stroke in the brain that may be life-threatening. So we need to know how to diagnose these patients and know how to manage them to prevent these complications. So dizziness, if a patient comes to our clinic and he complains of dizziness, we have to ask the patient what he means. He described that in his own words. We have different types of dizziness: vertigo, imbalance, lightheadedness, or presyncope. They are caused by different causes. Vertigo, which is one of the types of dizziness, means that the patient feels that everything around him is spinning or moving, or he himself is moving. Different types of movements, spinning, rocking, tilting, and so on. It could be caused by central or peripheral causes. You can see the vestibular system has two parts. The peripheral parts, that is inner ear with the vestibular nerve up to the brainstem. This is the peripheral part of the vestibular system, and there's a central part from the brainstem with their connections in the cerebellum and higher cortical parts. Any lesion in this pathway will lead to vertigo. It could be due to peripheral or central causes, and sometimes it may be difficult to differentiate between both of them. They may have both of them may have the same presentation.